So today we're going to be talking about the 8 steps to recruit the right board members for your mission. And when I say the right board members, not just any board member to fill up your board, but the right board members that complement your board so that you can have a powerhouse team that can be able to achieve the vision and the mission of your nonprofit organization. One of the challenges most founders face when starting a nonprofit is bringing in placeholders, board members. They bring in family and friends who are, of course, happy and passionate to serve, but they lack the basic skills, they lack the experience necessary to be able to build an organization and scale an organization. This has kept so many organizations stuck. This has kept so many vision not moving beyond the startup phase. But if you're ever going to grow, if you're ever going to scale your organization, you must bring in quality board members who possess not just the skills, the experience, and also the exposure to help you achieve the mission and the vision of your nonprofit organization. But how do you go through this process? Because the main challenge most founders are having is because they don't understand the process. And because they don't understand the process, they simply go ahead to invite people who they think they have skills, who they think are passionate to join their board. And then these board members come in, join the board meetings, and in a few months, you find that these board members are passive, they are disengaged, they are not providing the necessary support that these founders need to help them scale and succeed. But when going through the right process, you can actually make an entire difference because by taking your board members through the right recruitment process, you not just ensure their commitment, but you also ensure that they stay active. And that's why I would always tell founders, as important as finding the right people is also important as taking them through the right process. Because when you take even the biggest or the best professional through the wrong process, you find that they will continue to, they will be disengaged and they will not give you the best of the results that you seek. So what is the right process? And that's what I term the 8-step pathway that I'm going to be sharing with you today. Let's dive right into it. The very first step of the process is what we call the board audits. This is very important because you need to be able to identify the gap within your board before you even go out there to go recruit new board members. And aside identifying the gap within your board, you also need to have your board members join you through this process. And the board audit is a fine way to invite them to join you into this process. Because by auditing your entire board, you get to see the gaps, the skill set gap, the kind of people you need to bring in. And then you can have a one-on-one conversation with your board members to decide to bring in new board members so that they can join you on this journey. One mistake I see most founders making is that they go into this journey all by themselves. They try to do it all by themselves, and at the end, they end up messing up the whole process. And also, when you do it all by yourself, you're showing to these new board members coming in that you're a one-man show. Professionals do not like that. Professionals want to see that they are coming to be part of an organization. They are coming to be part of a body that's working together. So it's very important you bring your board members along this journey, and the board audit is a fine way to start that conversation. So now you've identified the gaps within your board. You know the skill set you want to bring in. You've identified that you need a fundraiser, you need a CPA, you need other professionals to join your board. The next step is the board recruitment planning. With the people you've identified, you need to plan, how do we bring them in? What is the process? What is our recruitment process to bring them in? What tools, what materials do we need to bring them in? Who do we need to take into the process with us? What's the budget going to look like? And what's the unique value proposition of joining our board? Because you need to be able to spell these all out before you go into the journey. Now, once you've done the board recruitment planning, which is the second step, the third step of the process is going on to develop the materials and the tools you need to execute. So for a board recruitment outreach, you're most likely going to need your board recruitment pack or prospectus. You're going to need your board application form. You're going to need outreach messaging and a host of other materials for this process. You must create these materials before you go into the process so that you can appear as a professional organization, as a brand that's fully prepared, because professionals like to see a level of professionalism in the board and the organizations they join. So these materials you create, you must brand them properly. Make sure they carry your organization's logo, your colors, and all the necessary branding to make sure that it's a very appealing resource. Now that you've created the materials, the next step of the process is to launch your board recruitment outreach. Launching your board recruitment outreach is basically going where your board members are supposed to be. So, for example, if you're looking for Christians, you know where to find them is in the church. If you're looking for Muslims, you know where to find them is in the mosque. If you're looking for fundraisers, there are professional fundraising associations. If you're looking for legal professionals, there are bar associations. If you're looking for business people, there are the chambers of commerce. You need to go where your board members or the kind of board members you're looking for are to run your outreach. Just putting out your outreach everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, wouldn't cut it. But when you go where they are, you increase your chances of finding professionals who will be willing to support you to join your board. And of course, you have to go with the unique value selling proposition for your board. Why should they join your board? It must be a part of your messaging when bringing in these board members. Once you launch your outreach, of course, you're going to have people applying through your board application form. The next step is to vet them and invite them in for an interview. The best way to vet them is to have 1, 2, 3 people go through it with you so that you can have a number of voice deciding on who's a good fit and who's not a good fit. This is very important because if you vet on your own, you may make some lapse in, you may have some lapse in judgment. But when you vet with the other board members, you have people agreeing that this is a good fit, giving you the confidence to invite them in for the interview. When it comes to the interview, sometimes we call that the board introductory call to give the board members a level of comfort when joining that call so that they can really open up as much as possible. Now you've interviewed. Of course, when it comes to interviewing, you must ask the kind of questions that help you understand if they are the right fit for your organization, if these are the kind of people you want to have on your board. Once you make that decision, I always say do not make the decision on the call. After the call, you have to reflect and then decide who you want to move forward with. Once you make that decision, it's very important you have your board members join you in making that decision so that you're moving as a team. So it's very important you have everyone involved in the process. Once you make a decision on who you're choosing based on your interviews, the next step is to do what we call the background check or the reference check. You can actually do both. It's very important you do so because in this present world of today, it's very easy for people to hide behind a mask. Everyone is online hiding behind a mask. So you must be able to verify if they are who they say they are, if they have the right reputation to join your board, especially for organizations that serve vulnerable populations. You don't want to bring in somebody who's going to join your board, with a damaged reputation or a situation where your board may not be trusted just because of one person. So, of course, running a background check is a must, and the local sheriff office can help you for free in a number of areas you want to run your background check on. But if you're looking to run a more concise background check, there are companies that can help you to do that for just as low as $15 to $20. Now, you've done your background check, your reference check comes through. The next step is to invite them in for the onboarding session. This is where you gain their commitment. If you simply invite them in to join your board without the onboarding session, you're most likely going to lose them. So the onboarding session is focused on exposing them to the expectations, exposing them to the responsibilities, exposing them to what's expected of them so that they know everything that's needed of them before they join the board. Whether it's 100% board giving, relationship mapping, board execution, meeting participation, all that you need to be able to clarify them before they come in. And at the end of that onboarding session, they have to sign their board agreement. The board agreement that says, I'm committing to these responsibilities. I'm committing to give my best to this organization. This is very important if you want them to commit on the long run. Once you're done with the onboarding session, of course, is to invite them in for the first introductory board meeting. The introductory board meeting is to be able to introduce them to the old board members, build a sort of rapport within your board, have them introduce themselves, what they're passionate about, before moving on to the strategic planning session. So here you have the 8-step pathway to recruit new board members to join your board, professionals who have the experience, who fit your board, and who complement your board so that you can build a powerhouse team that can successfully achieve the mission and the vision for your organization. If you're looking to learn this process or you need help executing this process, Simply reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you. At Nonprofit Board Builders, we have the platform, we have the database of professionals across the entire country, across the entire United States, who are seeking to use their expertise to contribute to organizations like yours. Reach out to us. We'll help you set up your board outreach, put together your content, launch your board outreach, and guide you throughout the process so that you can bring in the kind of board members your mission deserves. Next, I'll be coming on here to talk more on the board audits the next time I come on here. So follow, share, like, continue to follow. We have so much value to provide you so that you can do this right. Our vision is to provide you the strategies, the materials, the tools, the support you need to succeed. I'll see you on the next one.